This is Mouth Media Network, the business of being heard.
Hey everybody, welcome to Funny People Talking. I'm one of your hosts, Marc. We're taking the week off yet again, but we'll be back soon with brand new programs. But we thought we'd share another great old episode from the Wayback Machine from Monkey Radio with Marc, which inspired Funny People Talking, basically a reboot of Monkey Radio. This particular episode is with Miles Maker, a very, very cool cat. He's an award-winning visual artist, a commercial photographer, a producer of independent motion pictures, and just a really great guy. And we had a chance to talk to him quite a few years ago, and it was a great conversation and a very fun episode, and we thought maybe we would share it with you again. So here is a classic episode of Monkey Radio with Marc, right here on Funny People Talking, with my former co-host and great friend Ben Rose, with our producer Elsie herself, and our guest Miles Maker. Enjoy the show.
What kind of radio swings through the trees, has fleas and dirt on its knees? Monkey Radio, yeah, Monkey Radio. What kind of radio in charge of the world would give a banana to every boy and girl? Monkey Radio, Monkey Radio. With Funky Elsie and Monkey Marc, I'd rather walk through Central Park in the dark than listen to one transmission of Monkey Radio. That's just simply not true.
They sure work hard, don't they, Barney?
Yeah? I hate to see them work so hard.
Yeah, me too. Let's go around back where we can't see them.
Hello? I'm about to do you a big favor.
From the Monkey Radio Studio in New York City. And with more than 275,000 downloads worldwide, this is Monkey Radio.
I'm gonna make the list, I'm gonna be a hit, I'm gonna live for it. So proud of it. Just
Welcome to the show, everyone.
Hello.
I'm your host, Marc.
I am Ben.
Welcome back. Our second show of 2013.
Joy.
We have a great show today. You know, it's funny, I always say that. Just one day I'd like to see a host say, we have a kind of average, crappy show today.
Yeah, it might suck, but watch it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But no, we really do have a good show today.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to talk about public displays that you may not necessarily want to be around.
Maybe too many gams in the cornfields.
I'm not sure what that meant, but it does sound interesting to me.
I'll explain later.
We're also going to play a great game, Ben, a new feature.
Yes.
We always love those, called What If?
What if?
Yeah, we're going to explore movie concepts made up on the spot.
Oh.
I love making up stuff on the spot.
I do
The
too.
spot is always a fun place to make stuff up.
It is.
Right on the spot.
I wouldn't choose any other.
I know. What is the spot anyway? We talk about this infamous spot. Is that like they invented it?
Yeah,
The spot?
I think it's the center of it.
It is. Also, the center of our program will be our interview today with a very, very interesting cat named Miles Maker. He is
Very exciting.
a rising director, a story creator, and I think everyone's going to be pretty interested in this interview.
I do too.
Miles Maker, do tune in for that. I think everyone's going to be into that interview. Do tune in for that.
Do tune in. Do tune
Do
in.
tune in. You know, I cannot say that.
To tune in?
Do tune in.
To tune in.
Does this sound like a chemical of some sort?
It does. Everyone to tune
I
in.
did a bit of to tune in to my congee, and then we added a bit of basil, and we ate it.
Sounds like you've got the runs. And nothing but some to tune in.
To tune in.
Will help
Well,
clear
it
it
always
up.
helps a bit with that. I don't know.
That should be the catchphrase. To tune in. It always helps with that.
Is that what it is? It always
Yeah.
helps with that, which is great because you could just make the commercial and then figure out what it does.
I am now wanting to do that. I might have to go ahead and shoot that.
Because you don't have to figure out what the chemical does in advance. You
Not
can
at
just
all.
do the marketing
And it happens.
let the marketing catch up with its purpose.
Yeah, I'm seeing it all right now.
It's all backwards.
Tutuned.
No one does that. Everyone figures out what something is and then markets
change
it.
things.
Are you?
I'm going to.
Is it the beginning of a revolution?
Everyone, hold on to your
A
pants.
renaissance!
That's right. Hold on to your underwear.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Funny People Talking and Elsie at Elsie the Producer. And please, for the love of all that is holy, subscribe to the show and leave us a damn review and a really, really good rating on iTunes. Pretty please? Thank you.
All right, so I want to talk about something. I want to talk about public displays, either voluntary or involuntary, that are just not appropriate.
Okay.
Here's what brought this on, Ben.
Yeah.
The other day I was on the subway. I swear to you this is true. And I watched on my subway car no less than 8 people yawn without covering their mouths in a wide cat-like yawn where your mouth just like flies open like a hippo.
Right.
And you yawn. Here's the thing. These people were not necessarily all in their like corner of the car by themselves in their little bubble space. This person was like 3 inches from my face and just like, what I don't understand is how people just go, oh, geez, I should have covered my mouth.
Right.
Were they unaware this was happening?
I think people are just lazy and selfish.
Is that what you think?
Well,
Lazy and selfish.
Definitely. I mean, especially when you're on the subway in New York, it is generally a very depressing place. Everyone looks miserable.
They do. There's very few truly happy people on the subway unless they've been imbibing.
Yes, and if you see one who's happy, that quickly changes because everyone who looks at that person gives them an even dirtier look that they're already giving because, like, what the hell are you smiling about? I used to be so carefree and bush-eyed when I first moved here, but then
You were bush-eyed?
I was bush-eyed. And then things happened.
Were you bright-tailed also?
Depended on the day, but generally, yeah.
Bush-eyed.
But yeah, the city. I agree with you. It's like so pessimistic.
I'm sorry. I'm just picturing you with these giant Beau Bridges eyebrows.
Oh, they're there.
You needed trimming.
When they don't get a trimming, they get way out of control. I mean, I would
see. There's another commercial. When they don't get a trimming, they get way out of control. Get some. What was it called?
Downton.
I don't know.
Now it's too late.
See, the marketing didn't
I gotta
work.
stop drinking before these shows. It's causing too many problems.
It really.
Ugh, damn it.
It's really the only way we can get Ben to be calm enough to be able to sit in front of the microphone.
You said you would keep your mouth shut. What? All right. I'll be calm. You be calm. All right. I'm
Stop
back.
that, Doris. That's Ben's other personality, Doris.
Ugh.
Anyway,
It's always someone.
I know. So, displays of affection, displays of discomfort, Now, what about the argument? Let me ask you about that. The public
I had a
argument.
I had a friend, and he had a girlfriend, and their whole relationship was based on arguing, and like they would argue anywhere, but especially in a public place. And she was a fire burn.
Fire burn.
Yeah, it's a fire that just burns you bad. And
in other words, she would. I don't mean to cut you off, but she would. Just so I understand, she would be so intense in her
anger,
visceral anger.
Yes,
in these arguments that it would scald those around her.
It was
incidentally
happenstance, just so horribly.
I wonder how many
angry.
different ways we can say that. By the way, incidentally,
I know
happenstance.
how many adjectives
by accident.
How many adjectives can we come up with?
on the by and by.
On the by and by. On the who's down the river.
That's right.
But they were toxic. Like these two people are toxic.
Why did anyone go out with them?
Well, because they're the only two lunatics who could stand each other. But
no. What I mean is why did anyone hang around with them?
Well, I was his friend. But, you know, he and that, I mean, their whole relationship, it was like arguing. And it got to the point, it was just like, you know, it's embarrassing to be around that. It's embarrassing.
Why do you think they stayed together, Ben?
Because they're both destructive people, but they're not together anymore.
They're not together.
No.
Which one was murdered?
I think both of them a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, I don't like that. What do you feel? What bothers you?
Well, I got two schools of thought on this.
Okay.
The first is, I really don't think it's appropriate to air your dirty laundry in public places. I do understand
hanging up on a clothesline.
That it's tough to schedule these things. And sometimes things happen that are so crazy you can't help but raise your voice to somebody. I mean, it's a reality of a long-term relationship. It's going to happen, most likely at some point.
Yeah.
And you can't always schedule it and say, well, in 3 hours we'll be home and then we will discuss this emotionally. Mm-hmm. But I think you should be aware of your surroundings. So I don't think it's appropriate. I think it should stay private. But on the other hand, if you're going to choose to argue in a public place, especially, I don't mean out in a park. I mean like in a subway.
Yes.
Or in an elevator or whatever, where you've chosen to remain in that environment. You didn't just argue from one subway stop to another and then get off. You stayed on that train ride for 45 minutes and argued the entire way because you intended to arrive at the same destination together. You didn't get up and walk to another part of the car. You didn't walk to another car. You didn't get off the car. You decided to stay with each other. Well, if I choose to pay attention to your argument vis-a-vis the entertainment of the moment, because you've chosen, Ben, to make it available to me for my eyes and my ears.
Right.
I feel I have every right to pay attention. If I happen to look in your direction and you give me a dirty look or yell at me and say, what are you looking at? Mind your own business.
What the hell do you think I'm looking at?
I'm like, I gotta know what happened with Tanya's friend.
Right, exactly.
I've been invested in this for a half an hour.
Oh, yeah.
You can't leave me hanging just because you just got self-conscious.
I completely agree.
All right?
Because
you broadcasted this.
Yeah, you brought it on yourself.
It's like canceling a show before the final episode.
I know.
It's not fair.
It is completely unfair. I completely agree.
So that's what my thoughts are, is if you're going to make it public, number one, really be considerate and let us all hear the result of everything. Are you going to stay together? Are you not?
Right.
Is he getting the birthday present or not?
Yeah.
Can she buy the car or not? Did you sleep with her friend or not?
Right.
I would like to know. These are the questions, Ben, that I need answers.
Are you wearing her underwear or not?
I know.
Things that need to get answered.
If you are going to talk, Ben, on the subway about the fact that you did not realize that you were wearing those underwear in an elevated tone, at a large volume, in a way that we can all hear.
Right. I'm seeking attention.
You are one of three things. Either, yes, seeking attention. Two, so dumb that you don't realize that your voice carries. In which case, I guess you kind of deserve what comes to you.
Right.
Or you just were careless, and there's a price for negligence.
Yeah, I think it's careless. Completely. I mean, but I think in most cases it's just dumb people.
Yeah, I mean,
any intelligent person wouldn't do that to themselves and advocate that type of behavior. I think, there are, like you said, there are probably moments and circumstances that you need to get it settled right there and then, but you don't need to shout.
Now, what about public displays of affection? Let's turn the tables.
I'm not one to not be a ridiculous man in the street, but I wouldn't. That'd be more of.
Do you mean that empirically or related to public displays?
A little bit of both, actually. Well, I think.
Are you conscious of your public image? Is that the issue?
No, I don't care. What I'm saying is I don't care.
Oh, you're saying what goes. If we're both into it, whatever.
But I'm not going. Yeah, if we're both into it, whatever. I don't care. If someone wants to watch me make out, enjoy the show. But I think Like if I am walking down the street with a lady and I just start singing really loud or something like that, that's fine.
Well,
But
it is New York.
I do that in LA too, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No
New
holds
York,
barred.
LA, kind of the same thing.
I do that anywhere. But also, I think, if you're like making out crazy, I really don't care, actually. I really don't care. Either way is fine. It bothers you, though.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a certain limit.
Well, there is a limit.
I don't think that you should, let's say, be... How can I put this properly? I think there's a point at which you really should find a room.
Well, definitely.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with kissing someone. But molestation is inappropriate in a public place, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I think while I respect everyone's right to have the relationship how they want, I really mean that.
Get freaky.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, like, people that are like, oh, we don't want to hold hands in public because it's just inappropriate. I don't know that I totally
That's weird.
agree with that. I'm like, what is wrong with people knowing you're together?
And what is your fear based on? Like, why are you afraid to do that?
Yeah, I think that is a good question.
Because it's just, where is that coming from? Like some insecurities or something.
That's an interesting point you make there, I think, because let's say you're in a relationship, and let's say you've been dating someone for a month.
Okay.
All right. You hold hands in private with her.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just suppose that when you're out in public, she's not as eager to hold your hand. Holding hands, I don't mean like someone walks and she quickly lets go, but she's just not as into it. But at home, she'll hold your hand all the time. In the movie theater, in the dark, she'll hold your hand. But she feels weird about showing affection in public for whatever reason. So my question would be, like you said, is what would she be concerned about? Is she concerned about someone discovering that you're connected?
Well, because you need to see. Yeah. Do you want to be with a person who's like that? I don't.
Yeah, I would say in a month I'd have a yellow flag.
Yeah. A month, though, is a while. Because hand-holding is like the first step. That's one of the first, 5 steps of we kissed. Now we're hugging a lot. Now our arms around each other. We're holding hands. Like, you get physical with one another to display your happiness.
One of the first things. Yeah.
Yes.
But I would say, let's say, I'm not saying this is the line, but let's say 6 months in, she doesn't want to hold your hand in public. I would definitely say...
Bye.
I'd say that's worth a discussion.
Oh, definitely. Because who knows where that goes?
Well, you don't know. I mean... Maybe the last person she was with who she was holding hands with, a wayward, loose saw blade came by. She cut the guy's hand off and she was left holding this hand in public. Well, and it scares her. She's scarred for life as he is.
She needs to get over it. Otherwise, we're not going to happen.
Well, now you were brought into her world for a reason.
Yeah, I'm glad. To get her away from a hand-chopping sailor.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine that? You're walking down the street. La la la, I love you so much. Oh, we're holding hands. I will never hold hands in public again.
Oh, that's so sad. Poor Janie.
I know.
Well, she had it coming to her anyway. She's a liar.
Well, first thing, she really shouldn't have kept all those saw blades.
That's her. It's all on her anyway, yeah.
And then to stick them in that frisbee thrower, I mean, what did she think was going to happen?
Kids.
So, all right. Well, we're kind of, we're riffing here and coming up on. So let's use that as a springboard.
All right.
If you will. And I bet you will.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that a strange saying? If you will.
If you will.
It's like you already threw it out there, and then you want to just check if that person's with you.
So you'll come with us, of course. If you will.
No, I won't. No. I won't come with you. I say.
See, it negates itself already.
I know.
I gave a bad example too.
Well, no, but why would you throw that possibility out? Why don't you just say you're coming with us?
Absolutely, something close.
You're coming with us, if you will. Well, I was until you gave me that out.
Right, exactly.
Why give options?
See, it's not that hard being a lawyer. Options are. Trying is the first step to failure.
Would that be a good t-shirt, wouldn't it? Options are for wusses? Monkey Radio.
Monkey Radio. It's a meat promote here, folks.
That's right. All right, so what I was thinking is let's play a game called What If.
Okay.
Here's how this works, man. Have you played this before?
I believe I have, but I can't remember.
All right. What If is a way to come up with the concept of a film as you might imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you open it up to reimagining by the suggestions of the other person.
Okay.
Which may lead to other opportunities for you to reimagine. Let's see what happens.
Let's go.
All right, so I'll start.
Okay.
So, Ben, I have a great idea for a film. What if the President of the United States is eating a cheeseburger and suddenly he chokes on it? And at the moment that the Secretary of State is giving him the Heimlich maneuver, he hits his head on a spot on the Oval Office desk, and a drawer opens with a secret phone that calls aliens.
It's interesting if, something like that happened, but what if the phone instantly called the aliens and put it on speakerphone? And the aliens started asking, who's there? Who's there? And no one answered. And then the aliens got upset. And then they came to Earth. And they're like, yo, what's up?
That could happen.
Right.
The aliens could call on speakerphone and no one was there.
Right.
But what if when they called, no one was there?
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed.
Because every single human being on the planet Earth had piled into a caravan of spaceships and was parked outside the alien spaceship, waiting for them. Wow. All of the animals on Earth were prepared as bait in giant alien-like mousetraps.
But what if the animals who had their secret superpowers that we don't know about decided to destroy the aliens and then didn't let us back onto Earth because we were like, hey, you deal with it and now you're going to be food. That's what you get. And now all the animals are like, not so fast. You guys might have to Battlestar Galactica it up for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Battlestar Galactica.
It's
a new adjective.
Hey,
it's a new verb.
It works. Battlestar Galactica rules, by the way.
I do enjoy the Battlestar Galactica. Do you like that?
It's just the best show ever.
It really is.
It really was just the best thing ever. If you haven't seen it, Battlestar Galactica, people, the new one with Edward James Olmos.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Home run performances from everyone.
You don't have to like science fiction.
No, it is
just the writing and stuff is
every episode is like a movie. Every episode is shot like a film. It's so well done.
All right, let's do. That was a good what if. Let's play one more.
Okay,
one more quick round.
Let me start.
You start.
Here's an idea for a movie. What if a banana teamed up with a mouse in 3D, of course, and their job was to save a Swiss hiker in a high mountaintop plain in the Swiss Alps? What would...
How fortunate for the Swiss hiker that he was in the Swiss Alps.
A pencil and a mouse.
So a banana?
Yeah, a banana and a mouse. Not a pencil.
Pencil.
The hiker...
Are you having a small stroke right now?
Small. All the hiker has is a pencil.
Okay, so there's a banana and a mouse.
Yes, and they talk.
They have to rescue, and they both talk, and they have to rescue a Swiss hiker who was armed only with a pencil.
In 3D.
In 3D in the Swiss Alps.
That's it.
I think it's a great idea.
I know.
The one thing I would do different is instead of a pencil, it's a robot. Okay, that the hiker has, and instead of a banana, it's still a mouse, but instead of a banana, it's a hippopotamus, a very unlikely friend for a mouse. because of course a banana is a likely friend for a mouse.
Right. Naturally.
So and what happens is when the mouse and the hippo go up to the Swiss Alps and find the robot with the Swiss hiker, what of course happens is they move into a ski lodge together and start running it as a B&B. The four of them.
That's a good idea, but what if the B&B was already occupied?
By the way, can you see this as like a sitcom?
Yeah.
It's the robot, the mouse, the hippo, and the hiker in the B&B.
I can't see that. Just watching them all like walk on in. But what if the B&B was already owned by a family of ghosts who said, no, we still operate this place to its ultimate capacity. They're in denial, these ghosts.
They are.
But what if ghosts took over the B&B and started haunting our friends, the hiker?
Wow, interesting. So we have ghosts haunting the hiker, robot, mouse, and hippo.
Yeah.
And I like that idea. And what if, though, instead of a B&B, what the ghosts were haunting, a shooting gallery? Because they are all firearm enthusiasts at one point who were killed on the shooting gallery.
Same chestnut of a tale.
I know. And so, whatever that means. And what happens is, one by one, the hippo, the mouse, and the Swiss hiker are systematically assassinated by the robot, who turns out to be a killer robot from an alien race.
That's good.
Well, I think we could make that.
Yeah, I think we could make that too.
That might be a hit.
Well, with today's standards, that's already a multi-billion-dollar film.
I know. It's gonna at least be on, the TLC channel or something.
At least.
I mean, once Honey Boo Boo goes off the air, what's going to replace it?
This is going to come on like after one of those like addiction shows or
Next, after addiction.
Yeah, intervention.
It's Tim the robot, and he's angry.
Just a robot killing people, and like that's the whole trailer.
That's the whole trailer. And he's mad. He's like, ah!
Yeah, he's got a real attitude.
Ah! Except instead of like that, it's like, oh!
An Indian robot?
No. No, that would be like, ooh. No, I was thinking actually more like the robot from Buck Rogers, where he's like, hey, Buck. Beep, 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 beep.
I don't know what that is.
That's before your time?
That's way before my time.
All right, I'll have to share that with you so you can know what I'm talking about.
People were named Buck.
Buck Rogers. Not the old Buck Rogers from like the 20s or 30s or whatever it was.
There was one before? I still don't know who it is.
Probably. There was one after that with Gil Gerard. And there was this little robot, I don't know what it was called, but he was like when he went into the future, Buck Rogers went into the future.
How much have you drank today?
Nothing. Anyway, so, and he had this little robot, and the robot would talk like this. He'd go, sure, Buck. Really? You don't know that?
I have no idea.
All right. Well, I've just made a fool of myself.
That's all right.
Thousands of people.
I'll YouTube it tonight.
I know.
And then
check it out.
I'll be good.
Watch. You're going to know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
All right. So, I have a feeling I know what time it is. Do you know what time it is?
I'm going to take a guess. Are we going to be interviewing someone?
Yeah, it's time for an interview with our guest of the day.
All right.
Mr. Miles Maker. Miles is a very intriguing cat. He is a filmmaker. He is a story creator. He is a scriptwriter. He's a director. He's a marketer. It's so many things. And I met him one time by getting cast in a couple of projects he was working on. And he's out in LA now, and we've been fortunate enough to schedule some time with him. So let's get him on the phone. Elsie, can you ring up Miles?
All right.
And we'll talk to him. So I think you're going to like him, Ben. He's pretty fascinating, dude.
I'm looking forward to it.
And hopefully he'll talk about this pretty well-known film named Pariah that he was involved with on the production side.
Fantastic.
All right, looks like we got him on the phone. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to a truly rising filmmaker. Started out in New York, and now he's out in LA doing his thing, lighting up Tinseltown. Right here on the phone with us on Monkey Radio, Ben, is rising filmmaker and communicator and scriptwriter and director and you name it, Miles Maker. Miles, welcome to Monkey Radio.
Thanks for having me, Monkey Radio.
So glad to have you on the show. Let's start out with this. Let's talk a little bit about Miles Maker. I've seen a lot of descriptions on the internet as I research you a little bit. I've met you personally as an actor. I've auditioned for you, and I've seen kind of a variety of different approaches to your bio. So I guess I'd really, it's like the resume that you custom tailor depending on who the audience is. So I guess I want to ask you point blank. Who is Miles Maker? How do you view yourself? How do you want to be presented publicly at this point in your life, at this point in your career? Tell our listeners who you are.
Okay, and it's actually a really good question, because, some of us know exactly what we want to do in the business, and we've known, for years and years, and we're pursuing this really straightforward goal.
Right.
And with me, I really fell in love with the business before I really knew what I wanted to do, and I've been finding my way the whole way along. And some of it is literally certain skill sets are putting me in situations that have expanded my horizons in a different direction, and I just have followed those versus maybe what I initially wanted to do when I first got into business, which I if someone would have asked me 5 years ago, what are you and what are you going to do? I would have said, I'm a movie director. I write scripts and I direct films. And I found myself marketing movies and producing, but it was more of a survival in the business, pay the bills, but also certain skill sets just seem to just suit me really well. So there's older bios that might say, I'm a screenwriter and director, but then, more recent stuff is probably tagging me more along the lines of like marketing movies and developing stories to get them, packaged and sold. So if I had anything to say right now, I would just pretty much say that I love stories, I love movies, and what I'm doing is connecting dots. I'm taking story ideas, scripts, concept stage, helping get them written on paper properly so we can attach the right talent, and then literally going out and finding that funding or setting up, foreign sales model type distribution opportunities so that money will flow through the production and a movie will get made out the other side. So I'm calling myself a story producer right now.
Got it. Well, that's a little bit of a journey from where you started. Now you're in LA now, and you started out in New York, right?
Yeah, I did start in New York, and I'm not, what do they call it, a spring chicken. I'm actually 44 this year, and I didn't get in the business till I was 7 years ago. So when I first came to New York 7 years ago, I had not been in the movie business at all. I'd lived a few other places. I had just come from hanging out in England for a couple of years, and I just knew that I had been fiddling around the fringes. And I said to myself, well, when I come back, I'd been over in England 2 years, and I was like, when I come back, I'm going to do this full time. I'm going to commit to being in the business full time. So I landed in New York, and I just began to create my new existence in the movie business. So that's really what started it all, New York City, and just getting involved in the movie scene in New York, the independent film community, and following that wherever it took me, which ultimately last year brought me here to LA.
We're going to get to that in a second, but I want to go back to something you said. Hanging out in England for a couple of years. Let's what does that mean? I mean, were you just doing a pub crawl, or were you working in the business, or were you sightseeing, or did you have a girlfriend over there? How do you hang out in England for a couple of years?
And please, as visual as possible, I need as much help as I can get over here.
And I did it actually legally, but it started out, I did meet a girl online.
By the way, that's how all stories should start. I did so legally, but... Sorry, go ahead.
I met a girl online, and we felt that we were like really great for each other. And she was like, "Well, come to England." And I was like, "I'm broke. I don't have any money." And she was like, "I'll pay your flight." So I remember I had $3.68 in my pocket when I landed in London, and within a week it didn't work out with her and I, and she pretty much was like, "Get the hell out of here." But I had a ticket that was good for several weeks, and I couldn't afford to change it. So I just went online and met another girl and ended up hanging out with her. And before I knew it, I was making friends, and I extended my stay. And which, if you're an American, you can stay there up to 6 months anyway without any kind of visa. But at some point, I was actually able to get a grant, which I'd never got in the U.S. for any creative anything. But over there, I applied for a creative grant, and I was actually able to go to kind of a summer film school. So I was able to extend my stay basically as like a grant recipient student. And that extended me legally to work, 20 hours a week max. So I started bartending in a bar, which that was cool because they loved my American accent working behind the bar. And before I knew it, I looked up and it was 2 years later and I was ready to come home.
Miles, this is a film script or a TV concept all by itself. Your little story there. I'm listening to it and I'm seeing it come together as a film story. Have you thought about that? Not necessarily to say at this point in, 44, which in Hollywood is of course like, 287 years old, but 44, that you've lived your life and have this story to tell per se, but that's a pretty kind of interesting turn of events. Have you ever considered trying to shape that into a narrative?
Well, I thought about it because, pubs over there are different than bars here, and how the drinking culture is different, and exactly what beer is. It's real beer over there. It's non-pasteurized, tapped, and they've got the cellars and the right temperature and the right angle on the stilt, and you're really dealing with like live cultures in the beer. And I was so educated by that process that I was really thinking about some type of a movie where maybe some college kind of kid ends up going over to England, maybe inheriting some pub, and he has to, figure out, what the world thinks of, drinking, what the difference is, versus sort of the frat idea we have in the ice cold beer commercials we get, which is totally opposite of what, the world's best beer is supposed to be. We've got it all backwards here with the ice brewing and ice cold Budweiser and all that. It's a totally different product. It's actually room temperature, and the alcohol ingredients or the alcohol content is like sometimes going toward 12%. It's really high, like, maybe 6 or 7 to about 12%.
Miles, I have to tell you that interviewing you as a filmmaker, I never thought the correct temperature of beer would have come up in our conversation.
Good, man. It got to a point where, I would just, it's like a tall glass of milk. It was like refreshing. And I totally get how, over there, man, like I was at one point I was in the middle of England. We're not talking sophisticated London. We're talking the middle of England. It's like rural England, and you'd have these old guys that would come in these pubs, and they'd be wearing like a suit jacket, but it would be covered with these patches. And the patches are basically what you earn when you've reached a certain proficiency in drinking. So you could earn each pub around the countryside would have their own special patch. And if a guy walked in covered in patches on his suit, then he's a professional drinker and he's ready to just whatever he's going to do. He's there and he's serious. And those are those same people you hear about with the football games, the hooligans, that travel the world with the World Cup, start fights in bars.
Wow.
We need more culture.
Miles, let's switch gears a little bit and get back to, filmmaking. And it's crazy, I know. But so you're in LA right now. Now, what specifically brought you to LA? What made you make that change from New York to LA, first of all? And I'd really like you to touch on what's been, before we get to your great successes, I'd really like you to talk about those moments when you might have thought about giving it all up.
Oh man, let me tell you, that is all the time. That is, even as recent as a month or two ago. we get this idea in our mind about, you know, what making it is, or we try kind of set personal goals for ourselves, and we're like, you know, hey, by this age I want to have achieved this, or, you know, hey, I'm moving to LA and I'm, you know, by this time I want to achieve whatever. And at the end of the day, you know, you're faced every day with like major challenges, and one of the major challenges with LA is sustaining yourself on this push. And you're in a town where most all the people that are here are not from here, and they're all here to do the same thing. So it is extremely competitive, and you somehow must stay above water because you can't pay your rent with hope, you know? So it's like it's sink or swim. And I love the challenge. And at the same time, the challenge sometimes hits a point where you're like, wow, am I going to get through this time? Am I going to pay my rent, or am I going to end up on the street? And, you know, you hear about a lot of celebrities who were previously on the street and somehow fought through it. And I hope that, you know, that's not going to be me. You know, I have to ask myself all the time, at what point do I say, okay, it worked for a while? Because, you know, it's an ebb and flow with the business. Things might go good for a few months, especially as a freelancer, and then you might look up and there's no work for a minute. And did you hedge that with some money in the bank? And what are you going to do to pull yourself back out? So when I left New York, I left on a high note. I'd been involved in a movie called Pariah that we won cinematography at Sundance, got picked up by Focus Features. We're just the theater. Yeah, it was a good little run for a very small little movie. And from that, I felt like, all right, this is my time to come to LA, because I can pick up the phone and I can set a meeting, and all the intern or whoever has to do is Google my name, and they're going to see my involvement with the movie, and I'll get the meeting, which I was right. You know, you've got to use this momentum, you know. So I made the move. I came out here with little or no money, kind of the same way I went to England, and I just started hitting the pavement really hard. And one of the blessings that I'll say that, you know, I have for me is that the marketing stuff keeps me afloat, where normally, you know, a filmmaker is only getting money when he's making and selling a film. And a lot of times the making of the film, they can't even pay themselves. They're believing in what they're doing and scraping up enough money to pay, hopefully, the cast and crew and feed people. Right. And then they want to get paid on the back end. They have this belief, you know, and until you get into bigger movies or you actually get a salary to direct, you've got to sort of prove what you can do. But with marketing, you know, I realized I could tap into movies out here that need marketing. They already have budgets, and this is how I'm going to pay my rent while I'm trying to get movies off the ground. But I'll tell you, it took a minute. I did spend about a month, what I'll call coffee shop crawling, where basically there's enough 24-hour type coffee shops and Denny's and stuff out here where if you don't have a place to sleep, you can sleep sitting up with a cup of coffee. And I'll tell you the amazing thing about that, you'll be surrounded by actors and screenwriters and filmmakers. What a typical bum is out here could be one of those people very easily. It depends what part of town you're in, versus New York, where you step over a bum and they're probably somebody that doesn't have much of a future ahead of them to look for. These are people who are what I call, you know, kind of pseudo homeless, because you might live out of a car, you might live out of a gym locker, but as long as you can get yourself dressed and cleaned up and go to meetings and go to parties and play the game that may turn out to be your big break, then that's what everybody's doing. And once I realized everyone was doing it, or a huge portion of people, I just learned to realize that it's all about the technique and how you get out of that situation really quickly. You know,
it's amazing what people will tolerate and what they'll do for the belief you're talking about and their art and the entrepreneurial American dream spirit. Let us ask you, Miles, as both Ben and I have had, and I'm pretty confident you've had, there must be projects, Miles, that you've worked on, that you've nurtured and developed and have been your baby. And you've brought them to a point where they were cast. You brought them to a point where they were written. You were even getting people involved with investing. And you had put it out there that this thing was going to happen. And this was going to be maybe that success you looked for. And then 2 years later, 3 years later, you look back and you realize that didn't happen. And all of that momentum that you swept up, all of the promises you made, all of the effort you put in, the dreams you ignited in people have, just by virtue of this machine of filmmaking, have come to a halt or a pause or a sleep or whatever you want to call it, unknowing whether they will ever be awakened again. So I guess my question is, talk about that if you would, and how you come to terms with that, both for yourself as a person and the angst, the guilt, the responsibility of the dreams that you ignite in other people. Is that a fair question?
Yeah, it really is. And, you're describing it in a really realistic, painful way. And that's exactly what it is. We, especially now in the age of social media, where we get excited about something, we tweet and we post about it. Oh, hey, I'm about to do this. I'm doing this. Guess what? We're in development with this. You're sharing pictures behind the scenes. You do the script reading and you're posting that folder of photos. And it's a very transparent thing where everyone's looking at you and looking at this machine moving. And then suddenly one day something in the machine breaks. Yeah. It could be an investor pulling out. It could be there's so many different things that can happen. And there you are standing there with a broken piece of machinery trying to explain to everybody why it's not going to get fixed. And that's a very painful thing to do. And, it's interesting, you're bringing this up, and The Making of Brooklyn was my that was my passion project movie. And you were cast in I just, even to this day, I think about it and just think about the role that you were going to deliver there. That was just not only crucial to the film, but there was something you brought in the audition that was above and beyond what I envisioned in the role of the doctor.
Oh,
and
wow.
knowing
Thanks, Miles.
Just kind of knowing that will probably not happen, you kind of have to have this thick skin. And it's also the idea that once you start, paying attention to these extras on DVDs and these interviews and these Hollywood roundtables, and you begin to realize that most movies actually don't get made, and the average time for a movie getting made from script to screen is approximately 5 to 7 years.
Right.
And when you have this realistic approach to, look, this thing's going to break down and then you're going to pick it up again and then it might break down again. But if you really have this tenacity, you're going to keep pitching it and moving it forward and inching and maybe things will come together one day and maybe they never will.
It's funny you say that. I think that's one of the things that separates, if you will, the men from the boys. Someone once said about sales, the difference between the person that's successful and the person that isn't successful is that the person who's successful is willing to do the things that the unsuccessful person is not willing to do. And I think there's great truth in that. And you think about the actors, I see so many very, very talented actors who are outlived, don't have as much stamina as maybe even lesser talented actors who end up being more successful because they just stuck it out longer. They had greater courage, they had greater stamina, they had trust funds, whatever it was, they stayed in longer. Filmmakers too, they just stick it out longer. And, I give you credit for going as long as you are. I appreciate where you were with Brooklyn, and that's certainly not why I asked the question that I did. But, I had a pilot that I put together and I spent a good year on, maybe more, and it was a really great idea, and I cast it, and I had music recorded for it, and I had an animation team working on it, and we were going places, man, I'm telling you. And then all of a sudden the dream just kind of died. I wasn't in love with it anymore. I didn't believe in it anymore. And I think once you don't believe in it anymore, it's very tough to motivate other people. And that doesn't happen overnight. It may happen because an investor pulls out. It may happen because a better idea comes along. It may happen because suddenly you feel a little more poor. It may happen for whatever reasons, it doesn't happen. And it's so important. I'm sorry, I didn't bring you on to, wax poetic myself, but I really identify with what you're saying about the making of Brooklyn, one of your films that you have, had in the mill over time. And who knows, maybe it will resurface when the time is right for you.
Ironically, 2 weeks ago, it's just ironic you'd say that. I sat in a meeting with a distributor who has put out some pretty major films as of late, Arbitrage, Margin Call, some really nice movies, Winter's Bone. And we were just shooting the crap about, ideas. What do you got on the table? What are you working on? Blah, blah, blah. And somewhere along the subject theme conversation, the script came up. And I dusted it off and sent it over there. So they're reading it. And, what you're saying about staying power, this is exactly what it is. I think if you lose your passion for a particular project, sometimes it could be burnout. And what that means is if you put all your eggs in this one basket, it's a lot easier to get burned out. If you're saying, I'm a professional in this business, I have multiple projects in development, I don't know which one at any given time is going to take off, but I'm going to work these things as a professional, then you're basically not only hedging your bets, but you're allowing the you to move the career forward versus the project break you in. And then therefore you can sit in a meeting and pitch 3 or 4 or 5 things, and now they realize, well, we like this guy, so maybe none of these 4 or 5 things work out today, but we want to see this guy 3 months from now and see what else he's got, and maybe at some point the right thing comes to the table and we do this movie together.
Oh, yeah. Well, look at all the projects. I mean, think about all the pilots that are made, TV pilots that are made that nobody ever sees with big stars in them. Yeah, and no one even knows they were made, and there's just too much going on that never quite makes it to. But I got to tell you, Miles, one of the reasons I said to Ben we had to have you on the show is you're someone I really believe in. I think you're going to be one of those people that will look back on and say that that he finally caught his wave. And I really think that the sky's the limit with you. And I hope whether it's the making of Brooklyn or another project brings you the rest of the way. And I'd love to have you back on the program sometime so that we can see what you've been up to since the last time we talked.
Oh, man, I'd love to. And, we got to catch up anyway. I'm not in New York anymore, but when I get back in town, I want to hang out and just kind of see what you're up to. You're an amazingly multi-talented guy, and to now be interviewed by you on radio after you auditioning for a role, who knows how many years ago, it does say something about both of our staying power, in the business period.
I feel like we should be saying, you're schmoopy. No, you're schmoopy. No, you're schmoopy. Well, thanks a lot, man. Well, listen, let's, before we get to our little game here, we're just about out of time, but is there anything in particular that you'd like to put out there as a plug or a way people to connect with you, or something that you want to put out in the world on our show?
Well, I will say, this idea of developing and packaging is a big deal for me now, because I'm in a position now where the right idea, me walking in a room, it can get done. And so what it means is I cannot just rely on my own ideas, because they're not enough and I'm not writing as much as I used to. So what I'm actually doing now is really looking for ideas from other people and scripts that other people have written, that if it seems to fit what I can plug, I will go to bat for that project, and I'll walk in the room with that and pitch that. So if anyone has a screenplay that's sort of a genre movie, we're talking maybe action adventure, horror, thriller, sci-fi area, that's exciting and seems to be a unique take on even a unique take on a zombie movie, for instance. I'm having the right meetings where it's just a matter of connecting dots, and I would say, hit me up by email. Don't send the script. Send me your quick description of the movie, and then I'll write you back and say, hey, I'd like to read it, and we'll go from there.
And how can people connect with you?
Stories at milesmaker.com.
Stories at milesmaker.com. Hit Miles up. He's a good dude. And I hope that maybe at least one person will hear this and reach out to you, Miles. And we'll be in touch soon. But thanks for coming on the show. Let's play a little game called What If? Okay. Ben and I played a little earlier on the show. The way it works is it's not a new idea, but we'll come up with a film premise. See if you can do better, and we'll demonstrate. We'll see where we take it. All right, Ben, I'll start it off. You pick it up, and then Miles can take it from there, and we'll go round and round, a couple of rounds here. Hey, Ben, I got an idea. What if there were 2 rabbis on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and suddenly a plane crashed next to their boat?
Well, that's a great idea, and I appreciate your enthusiasm, but what if this boat that you're speaking of wasn't on the ocean, but in fact was stuck on top of an iceberg in the Arctic?
A boat on top of an iceberg on the Arctic.
Right.
With the rabbis.
I'm just thinking in realism here.
Uh-huh.
So, what if this boat that's stuck on the iceberg, its problem is that it's teetering to one side to the other, and in there lies your climax.
Gotcha. So you got 2 rabbis on a boat on an iceberg in the Arctic, and a plane crashes next to it.
Yeah. Just a bunch of bad timing.
Wow, that's rough. I don't know, Miles, what do you think about this?
Well, I like where you guys are going with this. It's really sounding right up my alley. But what if, on that boat that's teetering there as the plane crashes, that boat was actually occupied by Somali pirates.
Somali pirates?
And some Somali pirates, and those Somali pirates were actually looking to capture those 2 rabbis to hold them hostage.
Wow. Okay. I love where you went with that, Miles. A boat teetering in the Arctic on an iceberg with Somali pirates looking to capture rabbis, and a plane crashes next to it. But I'd like to just jack it up a bit. What if the plane that crashed was actually filled with rabbinical students? And what happened was that the Somali pirates in this boat were so excited about their great wealth of rabbinical students that crashed in this plane next to them that they had simultaneous heart attacks, because they are in fact conjoined Somali pirate twins. And fortunately, one of the rabbinical students happens to be a medical student in cardiology at the same time. He's a dual major. What do you think, Ben?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to top that. Oh, wait, how about if this happened? What if the conjoined pirate Somalian twins that found themselves upon this boat weren't at all pirates, but instead were philanthropists? Philanthropists.
So what do we got? We got a plane with rabbinical students,
right? And I don't even know what rabbinical means.
They're studying to be rabbis.
They're training to be rabbis?
Yes.
I still sticking with my philanthropists.
Oh, no, so the philanthropists are in the plane?
Right, but they're at war, right? I'm sorry. In my head, there's been a war because pirates are evil, so I just assumed there was a war going on.
Pirates,
on the iceberg.
Philanthropists on an iceberg.
Miles, am I at all making sense to you?
Yeah, you're making sense, but I'm seeing something here.
Bring us home, Miles. Bring us home.
Yeah, I'm seeing that plane was actually a plane that had just traveled 200 years into the future, and it had just come through a black hole, and that's why they completely lost control. So these rabbinical students were actually future rabbinicals. They had far exceeded what those 2 rabbis ever thought they knew about the religion. And so now we're having this joining of the rabbinical faith with Somali pirates there as the messiahs.
That's like the Capulets and the Montagues.
Miles, that is a movie I would go see.
I am sold.
That's what we're talking about. That is how you play What If. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Miles Maker proving why he's in the movie business. Miles, thanks for joining us on the program. We'll definitely have you back in the future. Let's do catch up. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You
All
too.
right. Take care. Miles Maker, everyone. All right, Ben, that was a great interview. Miles Maker, what a mensch.
Nice guy. Nice
Very
guy.
intriguing, too.
Yeah.
And I still think that story, when he was in England,
Oh, that's
should
definitely.
turn that into a film.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe we can help it ignite that dream.
Let's see if we can ignite a fire dream.
All right, great show today. And guess what time it is? Come on, I know you
food.
know. End of show food.
Here we go.
End of show food. All right, let's go. Let's see if we can get Elsie in here. Elsie, could you come in here, please? Time for end of show food. There she is. Hello, Elsie.
She loves bacon, she's cantankerous, and her cat's an adjustment. She's the producer, it's Elsie.
Hi.
What do you got for us today? End of show food, my favorite part of the show.
Well, it's technically not a food, it's a beverage.
Wait, this is a first end of show beverage. Sort of.
You'll have to change the jingle.
Okay, maybe we will. All right, well, this is interesting. What do we got here?
I have brought to you white birch beer.
Birch beer. I love birch
It's
beer.
non-alcoholic. Just don't let the word beer fool you.
Okay.
All right. You had me going.
I know. I'm so excited though, right?
Yeah.
No.
It's made with pure cane sugar, so you're not going to have any of that weird chemical sweetener stuff.
Ooh.
Is it actually, we got the bottle here, is it actually made with birch? With like the
Yes, there are trees in it.
there are trees and cane sugar. What more could you want?
These are good.
Pure carbonated water, cane sugar, flavoring. Well, flavoring's always good. Glad they were specific about that, and then a preservative. Sounds like nutritious.
I'm down.
But this is
So can I just open it now?
yeah. Go ahead and open it. You are cantankerous today. Nice. She's opening it. Pour a little.
Vigorous.
Ooh, it smells good. Have you ever had birch beer?
I have not.
Really?
No.
Oh, you're in for a treat. Birch beer is good. And actually, this birch beer, there's different types of birch beer. The birch beer where they color it to make it look more, I don't know, red. And then there's white birch beer, which is not as easy to find, especially like this, which is I don't know where you found this, Elsie, but this is with the cane sugar. It's much more natural than the other types, I guess.
I would think so.
So, wow, it smells really good. It smells birchy.
It does smell birchy.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Tastes like root beer.
Only more like birch beer.
It's definitely got a nice sort of sweetness to it.
It's very smooth.
Very
it's very
smooth.
light.
You can tell it's like pure.
Yeah.
There's-
Yeah.
You know?
There's none of that that low end birch beer
Right.
finish.
I don't think we need to go into that again, but yes.
I was just so many times we've had incorrect birch beer. Anyway, what a great show! Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Elsie.
You're welcome.
That was
Pleasure.
very
So
nice.
you're saying I'm 2 for 2 now.
I think you're 2 for 2.
You're 2
Ever
for
since
2.
that other fiasco.
Yeah, that's true. We
Where
haven't
everyone
improved.
like turned up their noses at the anchovy stuffed olives.
Oh God.
Ugh.
No, that was
Nightmares.
horrible. But yes, last show we had that phenomenal beef jerky from that place in Cleveland, and then you got today all natural birch beer.
Delicious.
I'm feeling good about you with the end of show food / beverage.
Why, thank you.
Thank you, Elsie. All right.
Glad you approve. Now I can sleep at night.
Okay. Well, I knew that was all that was keeping you up. That and the saxophone playing from None of Your Business. Oh wait, he's never around.
He's not around when he plays.
All right. All right, everybody. Just a reminder, please go to our website, monkeyradio.info, and click on Operation Shatner Face Stewart. Help us raise money for charity and get one of these celebrities, hopefully, on our show for an interview. What a great accomplishment that would be, but only with your help. You can donate as little as $1. All you do is go to our website, monkeyradio.info, click on the banner that's on our homepage, and it will take you right to the campaign where you can donate. And thank you so much for listening. A great way to start 2013 off.
Oh, yes.
Celebrating our strong listenership, our wonderful audience like you, and all of the things ahead. So we'll see you next time.
Steam and Pow.
All right. Let's have more of that birch beer. Very birchy.
This has been Monkey Radio. Live long and prosper. By the way, I'm doing the Vulcan hand thingy too. You just can't see it because it's radio.
That's it? That's the end of the show? Boy, oh boy, what a crock. This was Funny People Talking. No portion of the content may be reproduced or published without the strict written permission of the producers. Connect with our show at Funny People Talking or at our website, funnypeopletalking.com. I'm your announcer, Peter Coleman. Thanks for listening.
This is Mouth Media Network, the business of being heard.